So freaking hot. My face is so red. How's yours? Hi, it's me, Alex, a stay-at-home reader, and this video is my TBR accountability video. And I really want to focus on reading down books I own, which is what I built my TBR off of. So I figure I will make weekly accountability posts, like TBR check-ins, to see how I'm doing and sticking to my TBR for the month. So how did I do this week? Today is June 8th, so for the first week of June, I did okay. I did pretty good, actually. I finished reading Orbital, which I mentioned in my TBR video. I have been reading for months, and so I really wanted to go ahead and get it finished. I think my problem with this book is that I read it too slow. And yeah, it's not a plotty book, and it's not even a character book. It is an atmospheric, thinky, well-written book. Like, the hierarchy of the things that went into this novel is craft, character, plot. That's like barely even on the chart. And personally, I think I prefer character. I want to read well-written books, like well-crafted books. But if there is well-written characters, or characters that I can connect to, I think that takes like the top spot for me, where I would rather have characters to connect to in a well-written book, and then plot to me is, tertiary in that ranking. So this didn't hit what I look for in a read, but I would be willing to try this again at some point, that I can maybe read it straight through, or in a much shorter time frame. So that's Orbital by Samantha Harvey. This was on the TBR video, so I did good there. I read Hurricane Child by Kacen, Callender, and this one was not on my TBR video, but I came across it as I was reorganizing some middle grade bookshelves and realized this, while not on my TBR, fulfills goals I had for the month, which was to read Caribbean novels for Caribathon and to read for Pride Month. So this follows a young girl named Caroline who is born on the island of St. Thomas during a hurricane, which kind of marks her as having bad luck. So here's where, this is a debut novel, and I think it falls victim to that tendency debut authors have of putting too much into a book. So her mother is missing. She sees spirits. She's bullied. Her dad has a secret. There's a new girl in school. She develops romantic feelings for the new girl in school. Let's see. There's mental illness discussed. There's a storm. There's discovering her mother's past. Yeah, there was just a lot going on, and while the tone was a little dark, and a little angry for a middle grade book, I think it captures the culture. Like, it definitely gave me, I'm reading a Caribbean author. I'm reading a book set in the Caribbean. Like, it was good. I think culturally there's a little touch of like magical realism or spirituality. But ultimately, I think if there was less going on, and so more focus into, a handful of things as opposed to all the things, and possibly if this was aged up a little bit, if this was a YA novel, I think I would have enjoyed this a lot more. Then I read The Book of Night Women. This is on my TBR also for Caribathon and also for Pride Month, but mostly for Caribathon. And this is a book about Lilith, who is, she is an enslaved woman in Jamaica. I'd say the majority of the book takes place in 1801, but a few years leading up to that, is the beginning of the book. And Lilith was born with green eyes. I expected the green eyes to symbolize some magic part or magic nature to her. And I don't think that really was the case. There is magic involved. There's a group of women who practice different sorts of magic. Obia is the one mostly discussed, because that's the one that like people on the plantation fear the most, which is like a black witchcraft kind of blood magic. But because slaves are taken from all these different places, there are different cultures and different magic systems represented, and like spirituality and superstition represented on the plantation in the story. So anyway, Lilith's green eyes, really, they serve to symbolize her parentage. She is a product of an overseer, a slave driver, assaulting a young girl, and Lilith is the product of that. So she is born with her mother cursing her and her daddy. So because of her green eyes, because she is half white, she is othered. And this results in just a really aggressive, combative character in Lilith, who I spent most of the book absolutely furious with. The other main part of the story is that this group of women, the Night Women, they for years have been planning a slave revolt. So they're trying to pull Lilith in, but Lilith thinks for herself. And what this book does is really explore right and wrong and good and evil and love and hate and all aspects, like all within those spectrums. There's no clear answers of who is good and who is bad. And, well, I mean, there's some people who are bad. But yeah, I finished this today and I have a lot of processing to do. This was harsh. Marlon James, I have tried reading him before and I didn't get very far because his language is aggressive. All the bad words. His writing is very graphic. There is a lot of brutality, a lot of sexual assault, a lot of physical harm done, as you would expect in a story about enslaved people. And he held nothing back in writing this. So part of me was uncomfortable for like enjoying the novel while being completely appalled at the like abhorrent story he's laying out. But I think that just goes to prove what a great writer Marlon James is, and I will definitely be reading more of his work. So I have on my shelf Black Leopard, Red Wolf, which is the one I had tried previously to read. I think this is a good place to start. This is actually his second novel, but I'm really glad I read this. And so yeah, this was on my TBR for June, and this was read for Caribathon. That's everything I finished in the first week. But these are two other things that were in that video that I am reading with my 9th grader. This is like for our elective class, which is exploring humorous novels of all genres, exploring satire and symbolism. And yeah, I just thought this was a humor style he would like. We are, I think, just about halfway through. We have been listening to this in the car. And the other book that is part of his 9th grade literature course is In the Time of Butterflies. So this one I didn't pick, but it's included in the curriculum I chose for us to follow this year. In the Time of Butterflies by Julia Alvarez. This is a historical fiction novel based on real people, real events. The Mirabal sisters of the Dominican Republic, who were murdered by the dictator Trujillo in, I forget what year, 1960. So this is the author's attempt to like understand the story of the Mirabal sisters, and so she decided to do it in a fictional way to kind of create a story of like, how could this have happened? She says, you will not in these pages find the Mirabal sisters of fact or even the Mirabal sisters of legend. The actual sisters I never knew, nor did I have access to enough information or the talents and inclinations of a biographer to be able to adequately record them. And as for sisters of legend, wrapped in superlatives and ascended into myth, they were finally also inaccessible to me. I realized too that such deification was dangerous, the same God-making impulse that had created our tyrant. So this one, we are just over 100 pages in. I'm not sure that either of us are really liking this very much. So there's 4 sections based on like chunks of time, like different span of years. And within those sections, each chapter is told from the perspective of a different sister. And so some sisters' voices are just more compelling, and having to switch out of that, I feel like, drags the story. The book does a good job of like starting the sisters as just they're citizens of the Dominican Republic, and they love their leader because they've been told to love their leader. It's a law that they have to have his portrait up. They have to love him. They have to celebrate his birthday. And we have seen each sister come to a point where they're realizing or recognizing the harm that's being done to people around them by this leader, and that he's actually a tyrant and a violent dictator. So them coming to that awareness has been interesting to see, and also the descriptions of him and the ridiculous like narcissism that he operates from is just too close to home. So that is everything I've read this week. This is Chewy. Say hi, Chewy. So yeah, it's been a long day. I have some straightening up to do. My son just got a drum kit, like a full set of drums that I have to make room for in our tiny house. That's, you know, I'm supportive. That's going to be loud in our little house, but we'll see what we could do. So I'm going to work on making room for that, and then possibly tonight, but most definitely tomorrow, I will be starting a Clockwork Orange, and that will be a buddy read with Nicole. So that's it for now, and I will talk to you next week, if not sooner. Bye.